Have you ever wondered how the modern map of Europe was created? The answer to that lies in a pivotal gathering known as the Vienna Congress, an event that forever changed the face of Europe. In the early 19th century, as the smoke of the Napoleonic Wars was starting to clear, the major powers of Europe found themselves at the brink of a new era. The wars had dramatically altered the political landscape, and they were left with a map that barely resembled the one they knew before. They knew that a change was needed, a change that would restore balance and prevent future wars of such magnitude. This need for change led to the convening of the Vienna Congress in the autumn of 1814. The Congress was an assembly of diplomats, a grand gathering of minds from the major powers of Europe, including Austria, Russia, Prussia, and the United Kingdom. The key player, however, was France, the nation that had triggered the wars under Napoleon Bonaparte's rule. The Congress was tasked with a mammoth mission: to redraw the map of Europe, to restore the balance of power, and to set the stage for a new era of peace and stability. Yet, the Congress was not just about redrawing boundaries. It was about redefining relationships between nations, about establishing principles of diplomatic conduct, and importantly, about creating a framework for peace. It was a diplomatic dance where every step was measured, every word weighed. It was a game of thrones in the truest sense, where each power was vying for control, yet also working together to avoid plunging Europe back into chaos. The leaders of these powers were faced with a daunting task, but they were ready. They were ready to negotiate, to compromise, to shape a new order out of the ashes of war. They were ready to step into a new era, an era that would be defined by the decisions made in the grand halls of Vienna. So, as the dust of war settled, the leaders of Europe gathered in Vienna, ready to shape a new order. Imagine being in a room where the fate of nations is decided. Welcome to the heart of the Vienna Congress. It's the year 1815, and the air is thick with debate, compromise, and decision-making. This is where the most powerful leaders of Europe gather to shape the future of the continent. At the top of the agenda, we have the containment of France. After the turmoil of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, the European powers are keen to ensure stability. The solution? A diplomatic chess game, positioning countries like Austria, Prussia, Russia, and the United Kingdom around France to keep it in check. Then we have the restoration of monarchies. The Congress is quite the royal gathering, with a clear preference for crowns over guillotines. The belief is that reinstating monarchies will restore order and prevent the spread of revolutionary ideas. And so, across Europe, kings and queens return to their thrones. Now, let's talk about the principle of legitimacy. This is the idea that power should be held by those with a legitimate claim, often through hereditary right. It's a principle that sounds simple, but in practice, it's anything but. After all, who gets to decide what's legitimate? It's a question that sparks heated debates among the Congress members. But amidst the disagreements, there's also a sense of unity. These leaders understand that they're crafting the destiny of Europe, and they're willing to make compromises to achieve peace. They're not just defining borders, they're defining the balance of power, the rules of diplomacy, and the very ideals that will guide Europe into the future. And so, amidst debates and deals, the map of Europe begins to change. The Congress in session is not just a meeting of minds, but a crucible of ideas and negotiations that will shape the continent for generations to come. It's a moment of transformation, a moment of decision, a moment where the future is being written. And so, amidst debates and deals, the map of Europe began to change. Boundaries, invisible lines that can ignite wars or ensure peace. The Congress of Vienna, held in the aftermath of Napoleon's defeat, was a pivotal moment in European history. It was here that the map of Europe was redrawn, shaping the continent's future. One of the major changes brought about by the Congress was the establishment of the German Confederation. Comprising 39 states, it replaced the dissolved Holy Roman Empire. This new political entity was a loose federation aimed at maintaining a balance of power while preserving the independence of its member states. It was a significant step towards the eventual unification of Germany, a process that would unfold over the next several decades. Next, let's turn our attention to Poland. The Congress decided to divide Poland among Russia, Prussia, and Austria, effectively erasing it from the map of Europe. This was a stark example of the great powers' disregard for national sovereignty in their quest for territorial gains. The partition of Poland would have profound consequences, fueling nationalist sentiments and igniting numerous uprisings in the years to come. The expansion of Russia and Prussia was another key outcome of the Congress. Russia extended its reach westward, gaining a significant portion of Poland and firmly establishing itself as a European power. Meanwhile, Prussia expanded its territory, consolidating its status as one of the leading powers of the German Confederation. These territorial changes were not merely lines on a map. They were the manifestation of a new political order, an attempt to restore stability and balance in the wake of the Napoleonic Wars. They reflected the power dynamics of the time, favoring the victors of the war and punishing the vanquished. Yet these new boundaries also sowed the seeds of future conflicts. Nationalist tensions simmered under the surface, ready to erupt in the years to come. The Congress of Vienna may have brought temporary peace, but it also laid the groundwork for the tumultuous century that followed. With these new boundaries, Europe was now a different place. But what does it all mean? What is the legacy of the Vienna Congress, you might ask? Well, the ripple effects of this monumental event continue to shape our world in profound and lasting ways. The first and most immediate consequence of the Congress was the relative peace that blanketed Europe in its wake. Known as the Concert of Europe, this peace was not merely a cessation of hostilities, but a concerted effort by the major powers to maintain stability and prevent future conflicts. For nearly a century, Europe remained largely free from major wars, an unprecedented period of tranquility in a continent historically ravaged by conflict. However, this peace was not without its costs. The Congress's focus on maintaining a balance of power and upholding the interests of monarchies often came at the expense of the burgeoning forces of nationalism and liberalism. The suppression of these movements, particularly in Italy and Germany, led to a rise in nationalist sentiment that would eventually erupt into revolutions and wars of unification. These movements forever changed the political landscape of Europe, leading to the formation of nation-states that we recognize today. Yet, the balance of power that the Congress had so carefully constructed began to crumble at the turn of the 20th century. The rise of new powers and the shifting alliances of the old ones upset the equilibrium, leading to a dangerous game of brinkmanship that would plunge the world into the chaos of World War I. It's also worth mentioning that the Congress of Vienna left a lasting imprint on international diplomacy. It established the concept of collective security and paved the way for the modern system of international relations, where nations seek to resolve their differences through negotiation rather than warfare. In the end, the Vienna Congress was a landmark event that shaped Europe and the world in ways that still resonate today. Its legacy is a complex tapestry of peace and conflict, of unity and division, a testament to the enduring impact of our historical decisions on the course of our future. So, what are the key takeaways from this monumental gathering? The Vienna Congress, held in the aftermath of the Napoleonic Wars, was not just a meeting. It was a pivotal event that reshaped the landscape of Europe. Its primary purpose, to restore peace and stability by re-establishing old regimes and redrawing national boundaries. This was a gathering of power, a showcase of diplomacy and negotiation, where the major European powers, including Austria, Russia, Prussia, and the United Kingdom, played crucial roles. The smaller states too had their say. It was a collective effort to bring about a balance of power to prevent any one entity from dominating the continent again. Remember, the Congress brought about significant changes in the map of Europe. France, the epicenter of the Napoleonic upheaval, was contained. Its boundaries reverted to those of 1790. Poland, divided and partitioned, saw a resurrection as a constitutional kingdom under Russian sovereignty. A German confederation replaced the Holy Roman Empire, marking the first step towards German unity. The Congress of Vienna also had a profound impact on international relations. It established a new framework for diplomatic engagement, emphasizing negotiation over conflict. The Concert of Europe, as it came to be called, fostered a period of relative peace in Europe, lasting almost half a century. But like any historical event, it was not without its shortcomings. The Congress was criticized for ignoring the rising tide of nationalism and the desire for self-determination among various ethnic groups. These issues would later resurface, leading to upheavals and conflicts in the following centuries. Yet, despite its flaws, the Congress of Vienna stands as a testament to the power of diplomacy and negotiation. It was a significant chapter in the story of Europe, a story of power, politics, and people. The Vienna Congress wasn't just a meeting of leaders, it was a turning point in history, a moment that defined Europe and the world as we know it.